everyone, welcome again to our channel. I'm here today with Alison from the University of Worcester to discuss the opportunities in teaching. At the moment, the UK is currently employing teachers just like you, and based on the requirements, almost anyone can become a teacher. If you've got experience with teaching, great. If you haven't, you can join the teacher training program, which are available with some of our university partners, including the University of Worcester. Welcome, Alison, and thank you so much for joining us at Drum Study Abroad. So I'm going to hand over the mic to you so you can introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, thanks Ada. It's lovely to meet everybody. My name's Alison Wilson. I'm the head of department for secondary and further education at the university, and also have a responsibility for recruitment at the university. Wow. So today I'm going to talk about the opportunities for teaching in primary and in secondary education in schools in the UK.
That's wonderful. So I wanted to find out teacher training, like what is teacher training? Because I know what it is, but a lot of our audience are not sure what it means. Obviously in English it will mean training to teach or learning to be a teacher, but can you just give us a broad idea of what it means, the teacher training program?
Okay, so in the UK, well, and especially at Worcester, we have two routes into teaching. Our first route is called a PGCE, and that is for people who have a degree already. Okay. And we also have an undergraduate degree, but I'm going to focus more today on the postgraduate, the PGCE today. A PGCE, you get two for the price of one, so you get the academic qualification, which is the PGCE, but you also get something called qualified teacher status, which means that you can teach in the UK.
Oh, that's the QTS, right?
That's QTS.
Okay. All right, that's great. Okay. So when they're done with the program at your university, they would get the QTS.
Yep, so if they pass all elements of the programme, they would get the academic qualification, the postgraduate certificate in education, and also they would get qualified teacher status.
That's great. What's the duration of the programme? Like, how long does it take to actually train to become a teacher?
So we always say it's a year programme, but actually it's not quite as long
as a
year. It starts in early September. Yeah, so the first week in September, and then finishes sort of the end of June, and can go into mid-July. It depends how we can squish it into the year, but it's not quite a full year. So we're talking sort of 9.5 months,
which is
really.
Not bad. And upon graduation, they get QTS, and obviously with QTS, you can quite easily become a teacher, so that's actually a wonderful opportunity. So are there restrictions for people who have certain degrees, or could they have studied anything, or what kind of areas, what do we have to study to actually get this?
Okay, so for secondary teaching, your degree has to match the subject you want to teach. Okay. So we offer a variety of subjects for secondary. I can run through those.
Just briefly, just shout out a few.
Okay, we've got art and design, we've got design and technology, we've got physics, chemistry, biology, we've got computer science,
English, maths.
We've got English, maths, modern foreign languages, business studies and psychology. Oh, and RE and geography. And history.
So I might be asking, it might be a little silly, but if say a student studied something like, I don't know, social work, and maybe hoping to teach English, for example, what is there any opportunity there?
Not for secondary. The degree must have some match with what the person would like to teach. However, for primary PGCE, it's not so crucial. So long as you've got a degree, it's always useful to have a couple of subjects that you're particularly good at in the primary curriculum, but it's much easier with the degree, you know, if it's a degree that doesn't quite match one of those subjects that I've just listed for secondary.
Another question as well, I think you mentioned something about higher education teaching as well.
Okay, so at Worcester we offer a PGCE in further education. However, this is slightly limited by the number of subjects that we offer, and we call them pathways actually. So we've got a health and social pathway.
Sorry about that.
We've got a PE and sport pathway. We've got an art pathway. We've got an English pathway, and we've got a performing arts and SENDI pathway. So your degree has to fit into one of those particular areas. I think you mentioned social. Did you mention the social care degree?
Yes, social work. That was just as an example.
Social work. So that might fit into health and social care, for example. But those are the only pathways that we're offering at the moment.
Okay. I know what I did say we were talking about postgrad, but if we decided, if a student decided to dive into an undergraduate opportunity, because the truth is, because teaching is such a hot course at the moment, and because there's job opportunities in teaching, say we had a mature student who maybe didn't qualify for the master's option, would they be able to go in for the undergraduate degree?
Okay, so obviously there's a level of entry requirements which I can go through in a minute, because they're very similar for postgraduate and for undergraduate. If somebody wants to apply for an undergraduate primary initial teacher education programme, they would have to meet the entry requirements. The entry requirements for all teacher training are very, very similar. So if I just go through those entry requirements, would that be okay?
Yes, please.
So for the postgraduate, you have to have an honours degree, and normally the classification has to be a 2-2, so obviously an equivalent. And also a grade, a GCSE in English language and in mathematics. We do check for equivalency at the university, and if people haven't got those particular qualifications, then they can do our equivalency tests, our University of Worcester equivalency tests. If it was primary, then you would also have to have an equivalent GCSE in science as well, and that's at what we call level 4 or above. Okay, so they're the qualifications, but in addition you have to have some safeguarding checks as well.
That will be after the admission is given anyway.
That's right, yes, after admission, and there's several safeguarding checks that have to be carried out. There's also an occupational health check as well that has to be carried out. And for our international students who have obviously lived abroad for
a while
in the last 5 years, they have to have an overseas certificate of good conduct check as well. So that's with the local police, that has to happen as well. So it's exactly the same for primary PGCE and secondary PGCE, and for undergraduate, apart from the degree, because obviously you'd be doing a degree as part of your teacher training if it was undergraduate.
Wow. Okay, that's really.
And it's exactly the same for further education as well.
Okay, thank you. There's a lot of things bouncing around. QTLS. I don't know do you know what the difference is? Because I do, but lots of people don't.
I'll try and explain. So for our primary and secondary programmes, if you pass all elements and you pass the teacher training in our schools, then you get qualified teacher status.
That's QTLS. Okay.
Yeah. For our PGCE in FE, you are just doing an academic qualification.
Sorry, I've got a question. You said for your PGCE in SE, what?
Further education.
Okay. All right then.
Yeah. So you're just doing the PGCE, okay, the postgraduate certificate. Okay. You are qualified to teach at the end of that, but if you want to then gain QTLS, which will allow you to not only teach in a further education college, but also in a school, you have to wait 6 months after you've finished the PGCE in further education, and then you have to pay around £800 to
that's set
to put to set, yeah. Okay. And you have to put a portfolio together of evidence, and if you pass that, you then get QTLS, which is equivalent to QTLS. Equivalent to QTS, and means you can go and work in a secondary school.
So they'd have to wait 6 months and go through a portfolio arrangement, and then they would then qualify for QTLS. So is QTLS a level higher than QTS, or is it because there's QTS, but what's the big deal about the QTLS part of it, like?
So if you do a PGCE in further education, you can only teach children that are 14 to 19 and above, and adult education.
Okay, so you're restricted then.
So you're restricted. So if you wanted to go and teach in a school, you would have to apply for QTLS.
Sorry, just for the purpose of my audience, when she refers to a school, she would be referring to secondary school children or younger. Am I correct in saying that? Because sometimes in Nigeria, we would call universities a school. Any place of learning is referred to as a school. So
right, okay. So if I just explain, so in the UK we have primary schools which start with reception, sort of year 4-year-olds, and primary goes through to 11-year-olds, and then when children are 11, they go to a secondary school, and they can either stay there till they're 16 or they're 19. Or they can leave at 16 and go to a further education college.
Okay. I mean, that's a very clear explanation.
The other thing to mention, Ada, is that if somebody wants to train to teach to do physics or modern languages, they can now receive the bursary. So that's worth mentioning.
If you're looking to study for a degree, for teacher training in the UK, to take advantage of the amazing opportunity, which is that the UK is now hiring teachers, do DMS at Drum Study Abroad. And thank you so much, Alison, for your time, and thank you for explaining everything to us so carefully, and hopefully we might hit you up very soon, so we have a live Q&A session for students, if that's okay. But
yeah, that's absolutely fine. It's nice to meet you.
All right, then. Thank you. Take care, Alison. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks. Bye.